There's a typo. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Public Works and Finance. Today, first on our agenda is the approval of the minutes from April 14th, 2025.
Move we approve the minutes.
Yeah, no concerns.
Okay. Next is the disbursement report for April 2025, not ARPL 2025, in case you wondered.
Oh, I was really worried.
It was Sarah Decker. Hi, Sarah.
Hi, how are you? All right, so looking at the accounts payable report for month ending April 30, 2025, total expenditures were $4,063,641.91. Our largest expenditure was payroll, which was $1,264,720. And April was actually a very busy month, so I have about 12 items to point out. We made the second of two payments towards our street maintenance agreement with U of I for $43,838.50. We made two professional service agreement payment towards our water and sewer system comp plans for $35,607.87 and $50,942.30. We made a payment towards our Moscow City Shop project for $422,771.30. As part of our fleet replacement program, we purchased and replaced two Ford F-150s, one for parks and one for streets, in the amount of $42,328 and $38,328. We provided the local non-participating contribution in the amount of $450,763 to ITD in support of an award for the Public Avenue Corridor Safety Improvements Project as approved by the council. We made a payment towards our radio system project for $166,525.13. We made our quarterly Whitcomb payment for $193,599.86. We made our second principal and interest payment, second of the year, for our 2020 DEQ loan, $134,111.04. We paid one of our annual cybersecurity software agreements for $35,873.32. And we made our quarter three installment payment to Smart Transit for $35,082.25.
A lot of money.
That was a lot. So I don't have anything else to point out.
I just don't remember, were the F-150s scheduled?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Regular replacement.
I was hoping that was it, but
Yeah.
good.
Now I can't find it, but when I was looking before the meeting, can you remind me what that Wells Fargo ACH payment is?
Which,
Sorry,
that's all right.
I thought. Now I can't find it. We can talk about it another time if you want.
Okay.
I was
So-
just,
That category on the right-hand side of
Are you-
the
Oh,
major expenditure,
credit
that's all
card?
credit card transactions.
so is that 45,000 is just credit card transactions? It's not like a fee for credit card?
Correct,
No,
correct.
that's
It's just
okay.
all
I was
transactions
thinking it
across.
was a fee and I was like, surely we can do better than that.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, never mind. That's all.
and to clarify, the Knife River one is, we'll get more details on that in item 7 today, right? I can't remember
That would be a bill question.
the one for Public Ave. Is it the same
Knife River
one?
is the,
Sorry, Knife River is the
Um,
vendor. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the item on the agenda today related to that project is for construction, administration, and inspection services. So
Okay.
it's with the consulting firm, not with the actual contractor themselves. Same project, though.
Same, but different. Cool. Okay, that was my only question.
all right, any other questions for Sarah?
Nope, I move we approve the disbursement report.
Yep, ditto.
Okay,
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
and that can go on consent? Does it go on consent? Do we vote for it again? Okay. The whole council?
Yep.
I think you just ask.
All right.
Sarah.
Next up is Camp Moscawana, which I've learned to say.
I think
No.
we have another one
Oh,
first.
sorry. Next up is resolution for the destruction of city records with Lori Hopkins.
Let Lori shred stuff.
Sorry.
Come on.
I gave you a big check mark and everything. I was
My
like,
little
done with that.
State law requirements are kind of boring, but so state law requires us to classify records. We have permanent, semi-permanent, and temporary. We give them retention periods. Semi-permanent is 5 years, temporary is 2 years. State code also allows us to destroy those records by resolution. So all the departments reviewed their records. We compiled those into a resolution for you. Legal has reviewed it. Now it's before you guys for consideration.
I remember going through all this and the classification of records and all the explanation of that. And so I don't have any questions about this. I would recommend approval
I agree.
for the resolution to destroy, for the destruction of city records.
Second.
Yeah, were there any changes in the legislature this year for definitions or anything? It's just same old, same
Not
old.
for classification of public records. There was a change to timeframe for response to out-of-state public record
Interesting.
requesters. So you have a lot of national firms that harvest like any purchases you make. And so we get some wide, large scope requests for public information. So they extended the duration for response to out-of-state requesters for those records.
Cool.
Still have to provide them, but just gives us some additional time to respond, not just the typical
10 days.
10 days. So it gives a little bit additional time, but no change to classification of records.
Cool. Yeah, no concerns. And resolution has to go on general.
Nope, resolution can go on consent. It's ordinances that have to go on
Oh, you
regular.
would think after however many,
No,
Consent it.
3 years of asking.
consent sounds good to me.
Thank you.
Consent.
Thank
Thanks,
Thank
Lori.
you. All right, finally, next up is Camp Moscawana alcohol use request in the entertainment district with Amanda Argona. Hi, Amanda.
Good afternoon. So in your packet is a resolution that has been reviewed by legal for the temporary suspension of alcohol use in the entertainment district for Camp Moscawana taking place on Saturday, June 14th from 4 to 8 p.m. I did note one minor edit in the application. It says event setup time is 1 p.m. That should read as 2 p.m. Since it's following a farmer's market,
wondered.
you can't come in before that time. Vendors won't be ready. They won't be out of the street. And the applicant is aware of that change. It's a pretty standard operating procedure. But we're here before you to answer any questions, protocol regarding the alcohol use resolutions. And the applicant, Moscow Chamber of Commerce and Visitor Center, is here to answer any questions you might have about the event itself.
Do we know how many vendors yet?
Yes, I believe in your packet, we had up to 8 food vendors, up to 10 beer and wine vendors, and up to 8 retail and or street game vendors. So there's a max threshold. So that way,
Great.
if they have less than that, they're still covered by the resolution.
I'm just not sure why it wasn't named Julia's birthday
Soiree.
camp.
That's what I'm sending the invitations out as.
Okay.
We can give you a shout out from
That'll do. And now I
This
don't
is
have,
lobbying. Hang on. Hang on.
I don't have to plan anything. I can just
Actually,
be
that's
like,
smart.
hey, we're having a big party for my
Is this the
birthday
third year? Fourth
downtown.
year?
This is going to be the 4th year.
Yeah, cool.
I just am so glad my Girl Scout vest gets another use.
Are you having any pushback from downtown vendors about these downtown events? Have you heard anything?
We have not received any complaints to our office, at least in regards to this event.
Sure. Great. Well, I think we should approve it.
Okay. And this
On
can
consent?
go on consent as
Yes.
well. Thank you. Did you have something else you needed? Oh, you do. I thought you were waiting for me to tell you something else. Okay, I really did read this before I came. I'm just
For what it's worth,
a little slow.
It's all right.
I think I'm the chair, so you don't have to.
I know. I think you're right.
Okay. We're thriving today, guys.
All right.
Doing great.
Next on the agenda is the Moscow Rugby Block Party alcohol use request in the entertainment district, again with our Amanda Argona, which is why she stayed up here.
So again, in your packet, another alcohol use resolution in the entertainment district, this time from applicant Moscow Rugby. This is not the first time they've held this event, but this is the first time they're requesting alcohol. They just got behind the 8 ball last year, so they've been wanting to have alcohol at this event. And it is taking place on 2nd Street in a bit of a unique location. So it's not the full block from Washington to the alley. There has to be a little bit of setback because of the Kenworthy Plaza private parking lot. So it's about 3/4 of a block that they'll be utilizing. And this event was approved on April 8th, and happy to answer any other questions. This is a little bit different. I don't know if it was clear in the application and in the resolution, but they are working with Slice as their alcohol provider. And what's great about this is that Slice doesn't have to come off location, off premise location, so they can serve from inside Slice. They'll still have the wristbands, they'll still have the designated cups per the resolution, but they won't have that central ID check-in that we're kind of familiar with the events that the chamber has been hosting because of just the location setup of the alcohol provider and the event itself.
Does that seem easier or harder? Do you know? any
I don't know.
ideas?
I mean, I guess this is really the first event where we kind of have that. So
Sorry, but that area in front of Slice where they usually have people sit outside, can they serve alcohol out there already?
Yep, it's on their private
So
property.
this is just extending that into the street?
Correct.
they'll still need to provide, the alcohol provider will still need to provide a COI. They just won't have to submit a catering permit because they're staying on premise serving that alcohol.
Okay.
The applicant is also here if you have questions about the event itself.
My only question would be if I see it says 400 to 500 people estimated, and I was curious if that's what our guess is based on previous years sans entertainment district usage.
Curtis, would you like to come to the front?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yeah, so I noticed on the application, we're estimating 400 to 500 people. Is that a ballpark of the head count you've seen in years past prior to using the entertainment district and alcohol waiver?
Yes,
Cool.
so we had slightly less than that last year, but our club's growing, so.
Yeah,
we
that's
expect
awesome.
to see about the same numbers.
Right on. And my, as far as Moscow Rugby, is that Moscow Mules and is this the all ages one? I can't remember. There,
Yeah,
I know
this is
U of
an
I
end
has
of
the club
season
one.
Party for the whole club, so we'll have all of the kids' teams there as well as the men's team.
Can you
so.
remind me the names of the, you got,
Oh.
is Moscow
You're being
Mules the
quizzed
youth
now.
one? Well, no, because so I grew up, so
Understood.
my grandpa started the one at U of I, and so I'm not as
Oh, very
familiar
cool.
with the ones that aren't affiliated with U of I anymore. So is Moscow Mules the youth program?
Moscow Mules is a mascot for the whole club.
I
so,
love it. Genius.
Yep.
Will there be Moscow? No, just kidding. And so everyone who's affiliated with Moscow Rugby is a Moscow Mule.
Yes, correct.
Groovy.
Yes.
Okay. Because you got like the Black Widows, who I think is the women's team on campus. Okay. Groovy.
So this is mostly
nosy curiosity.
kids, though. This is mostly a kids organization?
By head count, yes, the majority of our players are 5 to 19, but we have a men's team as well.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome.
obviously the alcohol is just for the parents. And the
Parents,
players, but-
Great. Parents probably earned that, so
Interesting. Okay.
I think we should, I recommend approval.
All right. And we can put it
And
on.
anyone can come?
Yes.
Do I have to play rugby? Do I have? Yeah. Okay.
Yes, absolutely. Come support the club.
We
All right.
love it.
And we can put it on the consent agenda again?
Correct.
All right.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Amanda.
Mike, I won't ask you what you're doing up here.
Should I wait?
All right, next on the agenda is the lot line adjustment for 415 Ryan Lane and 2524 Itani Drive.
Yeah, so this is a lot line adjustment for two adjacent properties in the Rolling Hills area. So highlighted in the red at center of your screen, Itani Drive and then Ryan Lane intersection there. This is 3rd Street. This is Rolling Hills 10th. This has actually been, all the infrastructure has been constructed and they're starting to build homes within this subdivision. And this is the Mosier Park property located here. Look at the zoning configuration of the area. It's the R2, which is moderate density residential. So all the entire surrounding area is also R2 as well. So minimum lot size is 7,000 square feet, minimum lot width is 60 feet, and then the setbacks are fairly common, 20 in the front and the rear. And then the side yard is 5 minimum, both sides have to equal 15. This is the proposed survey that's been submitted, so you can see the existing house. There's yet to be a house constructed
on the Ryan Lane property. That's currently under review, but essentially just shifting the lot line 2 feet, approximately 2 feet to the east to accommodate an existing encroachment. There's a fence that's been constructed there, ended up being constructed 2 feet over the property line. So they're just rectifying that situation. So you can see the original area for square footage for both the lots, well above the 7,000, and then the proposed new area, so increasing about 249 square feet for the Atani Drive and reducing the Ryan Lane by 249 square feet. So with that, staff recommends, the committee recommend approval of the lot line adjustment request with no conditions. Certainly be able to answer any questions you have.
I have a process question. Go ahead. I'm thinking like in terms of, I mean, what things are, I have no concerns about meeting this request. I'm trying to understand the impact of staff time and what normally would happen to prevent someone from putting a fence up 2 feet in the wrong direction. And is that just up to private folks to make sure they're having a surveyor who does that correctly? And, you know, when the fence application gets submitted, but like, I'm just trying to understand.
How is the fence in the wrong spot? And is that?
And is
Well,
that something that we
yeah.
can help with
Yeah,
our
I mean,
process to
a
make
survey
easier
is
next
not a
time?
requirement of a fence permit.
Okay.
So it's really on the property owner in order to know where their property line is. If it ends up being 2 feet on the adjacent property, then it's just a civil matter between the two property owners. City's
Either you
not
move
really
the fence
involved in that. Yeah,
or you're going to move the lot line. Okay.
certainly.
Okay.
And I'm guessing that both parties are fine with this. This is,
Yeah, they were both applicants, Rafiq and
Okay.
Jesse Flowers. So
Okay.
All right, I recommend the approval of the lot line adjustment.
yep, I agree.
I'm good with it. I'm
Did
just
you want to take over? I'm sorry.
not at all. No. Really, I really don't. You can tell how great my thoughts are working today. So
And we can put that on consent. Thanks, Mike.
thanks, Mike.
Next on the agenda is the agreement for construction, engineering, and inspection for the Public Avenue project with Scott Bontrager.
Hello.
and friend.
Good afternoon. I brought Luke Hyde, our civil engineer. He's the project manager on the project. So it's just the next phase in the project for Public Avenue project out there. So back in April, they had approved the construction with Knife River. We'd already gone through all the process for that and everything for the state local agreement on that. So for the construction, engineering, and inspection on the project, there's a certain budget associated with that for it too, since it's third-party inspection. Back in January, LTAC put out a request for application to different firms to submit for doing the CEI on the project. 2 firms had responded. Then with that, a group of 5 had to basically go through the applications, which 3 were from the city, 2 from LTAC, the state, to look through things. 1 firm was selected, and then negotiations on it happened back in January. And the budget for it was $245,000 for CE&I. What was negotiated was the $238,002, which equates to roughly 13%, which is pretty normal. Normal like this is usually around 15% is CE&I for a project. So staff's recommendation is to approve the professional service agreement with HMH Engineering. And the agreement itself is all following state format, so it's been reviewed by our legal department as well, but it's pretty common that we see this style of agreement for these projects.
Questions?
I don't have
Comments? HMH Engineering is from,
HMH Engineering, the most local office is Lewiston. This group will probably come out of Coeur d'Alene as well. It's one of those firms that has offices, lots of different places. They were the designers on the project as well.
sorry. All right, I don't have any questions
I don't
on this
either. So I
project
guess we
anymore. You
recommend.
got more questions?
My only question, and this may have been when I was out of town, I'm not, you guys, I'm so fried. I'm so sorry. Let me try this one more time. I'm not familiar. How often do we end up having projects like this where the state is contracting through LTAC Like, I can't remember the last one we had where LTAC and ITD are overseeing everything and we're just like reimbursing or cutting the check towards LTAC to pay our share. Like, is that like the underpass at Highway 8 kind of projects? Is that like the Mountain View kind of projects?
It's kind of varied over time depending upon what
Okay.
program it is. So this is an LSIP program, I believe.
Yes.
TAP, the Transportation Alternatives Program, ends up being a little bit different on who holds the contract, who administers. But for the LSIPs, the state has been doing those.
And and we just like reimburse the state our share and they kind of help do,
Yeah,
Yeah, so
we
we
have to
do-
pre-fund.
okay.
We did a state local agreement ahead of time, basically gave us our portion of it, and then they manage everything after that.
So it's 238's included in what we've already funded ITD. So there's no additional
Okay.
cost to the city. This
Got
was
it.
included in the total budget, except the $2 or $3,000 and $2, the difference.
We're still
Golly.
below what was
Yeah.
budgeted, so
Right?
You said 15 is usually the,
about 15% is usually typical for CNI on a federal project like this, or something that has federal money.
Ruby.
So it's no additional cost to us, but because we are the project sponsor, they want us to approve the agreement as well. Correct.
Okay, that helps.
Even though it's technically between the state and them, it's a kind of an unusual three-party
Yes.
agreement.
I am glad that we get to have our say. So, and that we get the fine details and the $2 visibility. So, yeah, I'm good with approving.
I recommend for approval.
Yep.
All right, and we can put it on consent?
Yes.
And I promise I'll remember your name next time, Luke.
Yeah, because remember, it is,
Third time's a charm.
that's all I remember is.
That was the second, like the first time he got introduced, the second time I recognized him, but.
But also the
couldn't
panic
come
of the
up with
last name pronunciation is allowed, right?
Luke. We can just go with Luke. All right, next on the agenda is the approval of the EMS study professional service agreement with Matrix Consulting Group with Chief Nickerson.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
So we've been working on this for about a year, almost a year and a half. We did get 10 responses to our request for qualifications, which was surprising. I was anticipating maybe 2 or 3, but I was very happy to see that. So the competition was good. So we did form a committee of a couple of us in the city and then also some of the volunteer agencies out in the county because this is going to be a county-wide study, not just for our central organization, it's for everybody to help us understand the sustainability and some recommendations going forward of what we can and should do, maybe look at going forward. So Matrix was selected based on all of their criteria that they submitted. I did have a conversation with them and we did reduce the cost by about $3,000, $4,000. So, but they seem very anxious to get started. So legal did formulate the agreement. So just asking for approval of the professional services agreement or let me know what direction you'd like to go.
I don't necessarily have a question on that, but I do have, it's an easy one for you, I think. When it says other Latah County EMS agencies, do you know how many and who they might be or who isn't there?
Potlatch, Troy, Genesee, Deary.
Does Deary cover Bowville too?
Yes.
And not Kendrick and Julia, did they get Lewiston?
They're included.
Okay,
However, not everybody is required to participate.
sure.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
it's just kind of one of those things that if everybody does want to participate, they can. If they
Mhm.
don't, then we're not going to force anybody to do that. So we will just focus on those areas that want to participate.
I'm oddly excited about this. I think there's a lot of good potential here, so I'm glad it's happening.
And we did budget for this for 50,000 from the city and 20,000 from the volunteers.
What about the county? Did they contribute?
No.
What, did you ask them?
We did. We did go up and visit the commissioners last fall. Yeah, this is right around budget time, so it probably would have been in that September time period. So we did talk to commissioners more or less just want them to be aware that this was ongoing and to be aware. And Brian and I have talked about keeping them updated as we go through that process. The commissioners do provide $30,000 a year in support to the
Mhm.
volunteers,
Yeah.
but they did not seem inclined to financially contribute to this effort.
What I will take that to mean is they trust the direction the city is going.
That's a nice way to
with
think
this.
about it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
the $30,000 is basically for the paramedic level service that we provide outside the city.
mhm.
So, and training and all that. So,
And to be clear, we didn't ask. Our intention of talking with the commissioners was not really to request funding. We did get into that conversation, but we just wanted to make them aware that it was happening, and we wanted them to be participants in the planning process.
Because the resulting report may indicate an increase in.
Well,
needs.
and if there is a consideration of an ambulance district, that is created by the county, not by the city. So they would need to be involved in that process.
Mhm.
Clearly.
I'm scrolling through the agreement and I noticed that Matrix is based out of California. Do they, have they done other studies like this for other entities or they just?
so that was one of the criteria is to do a project related to rural EMS.
Cool.
And they, out of the 10, they were probably the closest to meeting that criteria and basically scored the highest. So that was one of the major criterias of not focus on a larger community.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
hmm
I'm good.
Recommendations?
I think we approve.
Yeah, I'm good to approve. It looks like it's, as long as it doesn't exceed 65,000. No, a project cost not to exceed 65 and we had 50 budgeted. Is that right? Or am I misunderstanding?
50 in city funds, 20,000 from the volunteers.
Okay, so
70,000.
everything's covered.
Mhm.
Okay.
Correct.
Yep,
Yep.
that sounds great.
All right. And should we put this on consent or regular?
I think consent is fine.
What's on our regular though? I mean, this is,
We'll have, so Ty's item next coming up for the stormwater, we'll have both a fairly in-depth conversation on stormwater standards coming up. And then whatever we may follow up after the workshop conversation that will happen today with the school district will probably be our two largest regular agenda items.
Who's our reporting commission? Do we have one?
Lori, do you have that?
my preference would be to put it on general, or I'm sorry, regular.
Regular?
the
Regular?
agenda.
Yeah, I would too.
I will try to be here. I'm on vacation.
Chief,
We were on vacation.
On vacation.
that's allowed.
Maybe Debbie could be here.
All right, that's
Cool.
fine.
All right.
Thank
All right,
you.
Thank you.
So
You bet.
put it on regular with recommendation for approval.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
comfortable with recommended approval. Thanks, Chief.
You bet, thanks.
Next on the agenda is the stormwater code amendments and standards adoption with Ty Thompson.
I thought we were running away.
Not yet. We'll see what happens.
You'll have to switch to it. Yeah.
Well, hello, everybody. It's been a while, but we're finally here.
Look,
As Bill said, we'll have a really as in-depth conversation as y'all want at the regular council meeting on Monday. So we're kind of just coming at this as an introduction of what we've got. You've got everything in your packets. It's extensive. So I'm going to come at this at a fairly high level, 30,000 foot view and just kind of move through. I know there's a lot going on here today. So feel free, of course, to stop me at any time with any questions and I'll do my best to answer them. So again, these are requirements that we've got to accomplish to meet those requirements in our municipal separate storm sewer system stormwater permit, also called the MS4. We also refer to that as the stormwater control system. Applicable to everything that connects to our conveyance through the stormwater system, as well as the waterways, the creeks and the rivers in town. Those permits are effective for 5 years. We are in our second permit term. Our original permit was administratively continued by the Idaho Department of Environmental Quality. That's the only picture we're going to have here. Again, this is all pretty dry, so I'm gonna kind of cruise through here. There are specific requirements that we must meet through either ordinance or other regulatory mechanisms. So we'll bring an ordinance to maintain that authority through city code. There are also enforcement response policies that we're required to implement. I'll talk about those individually. And we have to have written standards that address the proper installation and maintenance of best management practices during and after construction activities. We do have current codes now that deal with this. We've done an analysis and identified that those codes, there are some insufficiencies that we've got to address here. So that's what we'll find as we go through all of our stormwater codes. Our codes here, we have 3 of them, and it's just piecemeal, a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit there. And so we're going to bring those all together and make this much more usable, much more effective. So again, those 3 codes into one, it will be all of those nearly in their entirety. There will be some modifications. There are some things that have to change to meet the permit requirements, and then some additional sections as well that we don't currently have. Enforcement response policies, again, and the best management practice are the other things that are required besides our city code are actually laws, and they're supplemental, but they are required. I'll talk a little bit. The enforcement response policies, they really just lay out a detailed description of what the city's responses could be to potential violations or non-compliance with city code. That's city code, and then the best management practices manual I'll talk about in a little bit. 3 individual ERPs are required. Illicit discharge detection and elimination, or IDDE. That is things like spills, dumping. You can't have that, obviously, as well as illicit connections to the stormwater system. That's
I'm picturing the scene from National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation with Uncle Eddie.
yes,
and
that is the classic.
Cousin Eddie.
Yes.
Sorry. That's me.
Oh, it's great. RV bioactive
Oh.
down the sewer. Yeah, it's great. That's illegal dumping, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
That's exactly
Connected
it.
learning. We love it.
You could have a picture of Eddie. next time.
Actually,
Okay, I will. All right.
Now you
I just
know.
wanted to keep this tight, but I'm gonna. If we want
No,
to,
we like
get
pictures.
lighter. Okay,
We
you
like
got it. This is a departure from my normal, but we'll go that way. We'll spice it up a bit. I'll leave some of the quotes out, but pictures.
Fair enough.
will-
Fair
Probably good.
The
which
next
is different than construction site.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So each of these are they're a separate response. There's a lot of overlap. There are a lot of the same things. The main difference, just quickly, is for illicit connections, which is another IDDE, which is typically where a sanitary sewer system could be connected to the storm system. Again, a no-no. It's just dumped a different way. So that has a slight, just a difference, minor difference there. The rest of them are all very similar in their approach and in their structure. The written manuals that we have to describe exactly how folks can meet the requirements that we've laid out. Our current manual is not sufficient to meet the permit requirements. It is 27 years old, adopted in the late 1900s, as the kids like to say.
How dare
Exactly. So again, precise, very specific detail. It's a highly technical document. It's, if you've got a chance to look through, there's a lot. It references several other state manuals that have hundreds of best management practices each, some of which apply, some of them don't. So it's a roadmap to get the designers, the engineers, as through their design, construction folks as they're implementing and doing those through the actual construction process, and then the post-construction controls maintenance. Those are things like detention ponds. We'll have those and some other things that will be required. I can get into more detail when we come across that next week. So the proposed resolution here is to adopt the ERPs for stormwater regulations to comply with our MS4 permit requirements, and then to adopt the BMP handbook, which again is that roadmap for meeting those requirements. I think I may have skipped over the ordinances.
Can I ask you a quick question on that?
Sure.
So who gets the great task of reading over that handbook to make sure all this stuff is in it to bring it to us?
That's me.
Yeah.
And again, it's a lot, right?
Yeah.
Right. And so I'm very familiar with it. My group, the Environmental Services Department, we have our inspector, Marcus Miller, who's not here today, but is very familiar. And he's the one that knows that well and
Yeah.
is the one that interacts with the folks that through the design process and through the implementation of actual construction activities. So we are definitely here to be a resource for those folks, for the designers, for the builders, and for you folks as well.
Thanks.
Sure.
Can I ask, does the state make it easy to understand what our BMP should reflect, or is this us also? Like I see like animal carcasses and some other things are like specifically called out, I think, as far as the ERPs go, but like, are we following and extending guidance that like the state provides us, or is this like?
Inventing the wheel again.
Are you on your own?
Again? Yeah.
We're certainly not inventing the wheel. This is all stuff that we have compiled. I mean,
Cool.
very few things in that BMP handbook are new. Some of them are somewhat new to Idaho, but they are approved and they've
Cool.
been in those overarching state guidelines that I
Right.
talked about a little bit. So no, we're making it work for the city of Moscow. We've got some unique hydrogeologic situations with the soil, with all of that. So this isn't new to any of us that work here and are actually getting our feet dirty. It sticks
Nice.
very readily to your boots. So long answer, short, no.
Love.
Is there, so this came about because the state wanted us to consolidate our code and our best management practice?
It
Yes?
came about because the EPA wished
The
to
EPA.
require us to get a permit for our stormwater system.
Okay.
And that permit comes along with certain requirements that we implement programs and have enforcement authority. So this is just a continuation of us meeting that obligation.
And how does it relate to DEQ then? Sorry.
DEQ administers the permit for EPA.
From
They-
the EPA.
Yeah, they obtain primacy during our first permit term.
Okay.
So it's a federal permit administered by DEQ.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Sorry, it's kind of how healthcare works too. So like, it actually makes
Yep.
sense to me. because-
It's a lot. I mean, it's a layer and then a layer, a layer. We're the final core there that has to make this happen on the ground here.
I was just, after last week's council meeting, I was a little worried that we were going to do something and then the state was going to come in and say, oh, actually, we have these
Right.
rules, so your rules don't count. That's what I was worried about.
Sure. Anything else?
What percentage of your day is speaking in acronyms?
It's a lot, it varies day to day, but it
You should-
is
this is where you
it
say
is more
TBD.
efficient, right? So
I agree. I love it.
if there are any that I've missed, I really tried to spell them out first, but even, feel free to
Yeah.
come back.
Oh, I love it.
This seems arduous, but pretty impressive that it's all here.
It's been a process,
Yeah.
but it's important to get these things correct.
Yeah.
Hopefully on the first shot. So we've
Yeah.
worked to get there.
And this won't, if and when this ordinance and resolution is adopted, will citizens or developers see any, or businesses see any different approach to how their stormwater, anything is managed? This is mostly us dotting our
Right.
I's and crossing our T's.
We've been working with specifically the biggest change is going to be with the construction folks.
Okay.
From design and planning and then the actual construction. So we've been working with those folks since 2022. Like
It's coming.
we've had this
Yeah.
for a long time. It's evolved. It's as we've developed it, but we've gotten to a point where, especially the folks that are local or at least semi-local, the work in the area, it's a small world anymore. So that's where we've put most of our effort is on that education piece of here's what's coming. We had an outreach session here that spelled out the BMP manual. That was in 2023 now. Time flies. So we have made sure that those folks that are the most affected have the information beforehand.
Awesome.
So, and same with the ERP. We've been working with them and showing them this is how it's going to work, and operating in a similar fashion.
And if anything else, it's meant to help them help us be in compliance with
Yeah,
the feds,
that's-
right?
You'll hear this a lot. Compliance assistance is our goal, education and getting this right. And if we can work together collaboratively with those folks, it benefits all of us. We do not want to be a hindrance in any way. We're a resource, and that's the way we approach our day-to-day.
Love it.
All right, so this is going to go on regular agenda. And,
I'm good with recommending approval from the committee.
Me too.
okay, thank you.
Sounds good.
Thanks, Ty.
Thank
I feel like I should also say, and I'm sorry, that sounds awful.
Yeah.
We know it's what you live for. All right, next on the agenda is the master agreement for services with the University of Idaho. Phil.
So as the council is aware, the city provides public safety services to the university. A lot of it focused to staffing a campus division up on campus, as well as providing public safety services to the number of events, concerts, and other activities that happen on campus. We have provided those services underneath a contract for those enhanced services for decades. Our current agreement is set to expire on September 30th of this year. So we've been working over the course of the last 6 months to update that agreement, to refine some of the language, make it a little bit more clear, a little bit more precise. And that now has been approved by the university and coming for the council. This agreement will be a 3-year term, has a little over $1.6 million per year for the services and a 2% annual escalator. And there is an option for additional 3-year term extension underneath it. So with that, staff I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Questions?
It seems like earlier there were some issues with how much, trying to think of the right term. So our folks could actually be in the buildings and see what's going on and make decisions. For a while, it seemed like they were wanting to put them in another spot, and there was a problem of.
So I think it's related to certain special events.
That's it,
So
thanks.
some of the command posts, I know we've been working through different options for like athletic events. Are you in the facility itself in the press box or some of the area where you can observe it? Or I think there was a command post that was set up in the facilities of building across the street from the Kibbe Dome during some of those events. I know they've been working to fine tune and improve plans for events coming up this next year. So I think they're working on that currently.
And our folks, our fire and volunteers feel comfortable right
Yep.
now. Okay.
I have a couple questions.
Yeah, Haley.
Have we been going year by year previously? Is this the first time?
No, the prior agreement was a 5-year term. It did have the option to be extended for an additional 5-year term, but the university wanted to work on improving and refining some of the language in the agreement. So we didn't do a renewal. This is essentially a new agreement with a 3-year term with a 3-year renewal. So that we were just September this year would have been the end of that first 5-year term.
And this is a loaded question. I'll admit it openly. Is the 2% escalation actually going to cover, like, is the U of I getting a really good deal out of this 3-year agreement with the quality of service that I know we provide?
We went through a fairly detailed conversation. Really, and I think we got ourselves up to par with this current negotiation. The prior, essentially, we're dropping one full-time position that honestly was never really up at campus. There was a position identified as being a narcotics detective that was going to be assigned full-time to campus. We haven't had that position for about 4 years. And so we were able to kind of work through the removal of that specific position, but maintain the current level of funding because our costs have increased about 23% since that agreement was executed 5 years ago. In reviewing the updated assignment of staff and hours, we really think this makes the city whole. 2% moving forward is probably a little bit short for us, but we did want to get a multi-year agreement and not have to go through this every year. So we felt more comfortable that'd be in the city's benefit to at least have that certainty for that 3-year time period. So the escalator's a little bit low. We'll just have to kind of see what inflation looks like in the next coming years. But it's probably a little bit on the low side. We will have that opportunity to review that here in 3 years if we want to.
Yeah, I guess I just want to, but I'm very proud of my alma mater. I'm a proud Vandal. I just, it's hard for, I don't envy the conversations your team has had because like we're all on the same team here, which is provide good, safe services. And I hate when it comes down to getting nickeled and dimed. And we know how tight the budget is. And so I just am very aware that this 2% escalation, right? I want to make sure people are adequately compensated and that we're able to issue COLA. And I'm glad we got to somewhere that's a 3-year agreement. We're all on the same side. And I know that U of I is also strapped for resources as well, but
We're all struggling. I think we had really good, positive, productive conversations. I think this did help us true it up and get the staffing to the right level. The prior escalator, so underneath the prior agreement, it was 1% for the first year, then it was 2% for year 2, and then it was 3% for the years after that. This 2% kind of puts us somewhere in the middle.
okay.
I'm sure we'll have that opportunity to have that conversation in 3 years as we look to see, law enforcement is becoming a very costly operation for all cities, counties, other entities. And so we can certainly review that, but we felt this got our staffing level at the right level
Great.
for us, and we felt good with the outcome.
Okay, then I'm happy. If you're happy, I'm happy.
And this agreement's more specific than the old one and it makes
Correct. So just
more accurate. Right?
yeah, it included things. I mean, the old agreement still had kind of artifacts of having police staffing the book sale, which isn't quite the same thing today. It had, language like up to 14 officers for football, but no minimum. So we've kind of set a minimum, and then there'll be a process by which to evaluate crowd size and relative risk to decide what level of staffing. And so it didn't have a lot of refinement there. It also provides some better clarity on the Clery Act reporting for any assaults that happen on campus or to the campus community. So we've helped improve language there about the timeliness of reporting and other things. So we felt comfortable with the changes that were made in language, and it does provide better clarity to both sides.
All right.
And I recommend approval, and it's a
We
pretty
can
big
put
contract,
this
but
on
I don't know.
consent.
I think
It's
consent would
fine.
be fine for this.
There's no reason not to.
I also see the 3 other council folks who are here. And so I guess I was thinking as far as the lens of making sure it's a transparent conversation for the public.
Well, I think
tend
we
to
are
get more-
transparent in all the things we do, right? So I
we do
think
get
we're
a bigger
fine.
audience at our 7:00 meetings. I'll say that much. I'm fine with consent if we want to go consent on this one.
Great.
I can go either way.
I
So
would like consent.
consent.
Yep.
Okay.
Sounds
Thank
good.
you. And that's it. Anything else? Anybody?
Nope.
Oh,
All right. Let's adjourn.
yay.